Hello, this is JT at HobieCat, and today I'm going to show you how to install your brand new Spinnaker kit on your Adventure Island and Tandem Island kayak. First step to installing your Spinnaker kit is to attach the snuffer hoop to the front Aka bar on the starboard side. You can hook up the snuffer hoop anywhere from the center to the far outside of the front Aka bar. Next, pull the snuffer sock towards the stern of the kayak and pull the straps underneath the rear Aka bar. Next, pull the straps all the way towards the front of the kayak and buckle right underneath the front Aka bar to the buckles provided on the snuffer hoop. After buckling the side release buckles together, be sure to tighten the straps so that the snuffer hoop and sock fit snugly on top of the Aka bars. The next step is to install the telltale onto the rear of the mast tip rotator. You will first need to take the provided rubber piece and slide it halfway down the aluminum mast. Then you will slide on the nylon washer and then the telltale flag, followed by another nylon washer and then the rubber end cap. You will then take this assembly and press it firmly into place on the rear of the mast tip rotator. Next, install the mast tip rotator onto the top of the mast simply by pressing it on firmly. Now we'll install the cheek block on the rear Aka bar directly behind the snuffer sock. Set up the cheek block on the bar so that the side with the pulley is closest to the cockpit of the kayak. Use the provided self-tapping screws to install it onto the top of the Aka bar. Next step is to install the Harken cam cleat onto the front crossbar of the kayak. Use the 832 screws to hold the assembly together and the provided tapped holes that are already on the front crossbar of the kayak. Screw in these screws by hand. Now we need to install a cheek block on the stern starboard side of the kayak. We recommend placing this cheek block directly behind the metal plate. Hold the cheek block exactly where you like it and use a 3/16 drill bit to drill 2 holes into the kayak. Now use the provided 1032 machine screws and press them through the cheek block and the drilled holes. Reach through the rear hatch of the kayak with a washer and nut and through bolt the cheek block onto the rear of the kayak. Now we'll need to install the single pulley onto the stern of the kayak. Do this by removing the pin on the single Harken pulley, sliding the shackle through the pad eye on the stern of the kayak, and then reinstalling the pin onto the single Harken pulley. Next, we need to install the swivel cam cleat mount onto each of the rear Aka bars. We recommend that you install this mount 2 to 4 inches from the Aka casting. Place the mount on top of the Aka bar, making sure that the top of the mount is perfectly level. Then locate the center hole on the side of the mount that has 3 holes. Using one of the self-tapping screws that is provided, drill in the mount and install it onto the rear Aka bar. Do not install any other screws as of yet. Place the swivel cam cleat on top of the swivel cam cleat mount. Now locate the hole opposite from the hole of the screw that you just installed. Using the provided self-tapping screw, penetrate through the swivel cam cleat mount and through the Aka bar. Now using a screwdriver, install the remaining 2 machine screws into the remaining 2 holes on top of the swivel cam cleat. After installing all of the screws on the swivel cam cleat, make sure that the swivel cam cleat can rotate at a full 360 degrees without any interference with the screws. Repeat this procedure for the Aka bar on the opposite side of the kayak. The next step to installing the Spinnaker kit is to attach the traveler pulley line to the bow of the kayak. First, you want to pull the traveler pulley back towards the cockpit of the kayak and stretch out the traveler pulley line. Next, attach the shackle to the front pad eye of the kayak. Now you will need to run the halyard line through the entire Spinnaker kit. First, stretch out the Spinnaker sail on the lawn in front of the kayak. You'll notice in the Adventure Island Spinnaker sail there are 2 grommets, and in the Tandem Island Spinnaker sail there are 3 grommets. Run the halyard line through the entire Spinnaker sail, starting at the bottom grommet and ending at the grommet closest to the head of the sail. Then terminate the end of the halyard line with a figure 8 knot. Now take the opposite side of the halyard line and run it through the snuffer hoop through the length of the snuffer sock and out through the grommet in the back. Pull through the slack and then run through the end through the cheek block on the side furthest away from the kayak. Then run it back through the cheek block again on the side closer to the kayak. Pull the slack through the system. Run the halyard line through the harken block on the front crossbar of the kayak, then towards the bow of the kayak. Next, run the halyard line through the traveler pulley on the traveler pulley line. Pull the slack through the system once again. After you have run the halyard line through the traveler pulley, run it underneath each of the Aka bars towards the stern of the kayak. Now run the halyard line through the cheek block and also through the single block on the stern pad eye of the kayak. Run the halyard line through the mast tip rotator, starting with the side with the telltale flag and exiting through the front. Pull a slack through the system. Then put the mast tip rotator back on the top of the mast. While holding on to the end of the halyard line, hoist the mast and insert it into the kayak. Now tie the end of the halyard line to the head of the Spinnaker sail using a bowline knot. Hoist the Spinnaker sail partially up into the air. Now tie the loose end of the traveler pulley line to the tack of the Spinnaker sail using a bowline knot. Fully hoist the Spinnaker sail. Next, we need to install the Spinnaker sheet line onto the sail. Start by finding the halfway point of the sheet line. Fold it in half and feed it through the clew, grommet, of the Spinnaker sail. Then take the other ends of the sheet line and feed it through the loop. Pull tight. Be sure that each end of the sheet line goes around each side of the mast. Now feed each end through each corresponding swivel cam cleat and tie a figure-8 knot at the end. Now we need to mount the eyelet posts onto the back side of the rear Aka bars. Take the first eyelet post and using the self-tapping screws, mount it the furthest out on the Aka bar as possible. Now mount a second eyelet post halfway between the swivel cam cleat and the previously installed eyelet post. Repeat this procedure for the rear Aka bar on the opposite side of the kayak. If you are having problems with the halyard line snagging underneath the Aka bars, 2 pad eyes were included in the kit to prevent this from happening. Install these, if you would like, with the provided self-tapping screws. In order to deploy the Spinnaker sail, pull the halyard line from the front crossbar of the kayak. In order to stow the Spinnaker sail, uncleat the halyard line from the front crossbar and pull the halyard line from the back of the snuffer sock.